Hello to all my viewers again. I am here back again with another story about learning theories. Today we're learning about constructivism, and I wrote this really cool story that I'd love to read for you today. There was once a bear named Bobo. His best friend was a penguin named Rothy. Bobo used constructivism to help his friend Rothy catch fish. This was very effective as constructivism relates the learning to personal experiences. It also promotes critical thinking, which helped Rothy to break down facts like the area where there's the most fish versus like the area with the most predators to find and figure out what the best fishing spot would be. It also promotes problem solving, which Rothy was able to find, which helped Rothy to find a more strategic entry point into the water that was more sheltered from killer whales. This was better than a previous fishing hole, which had many more penguin casualties. Constructivism also uses collaboration. For the trickier fishing spots, which were harder to catch fish and had more predators, Bobo and Rothy would catch fish together. They would share strategies and experiences that best worked together to help solve the fishing dilemma with very good communication. By talking about it, by working together with it, they were able to talk about it, formulate strategies together, play off of one another, and really work out the best way to catch fish. Rothy really took to this as she really wanted fish, and these lessons held a very meaningful context to her. So basically, having wanting to go after fish was something that Rothy really cared about. So the lessons were something that she was really interested in at the time, and she was really into and wanting to learn at the time. Together, they used prior knowledge of the environment and new strategies that they developed through constructivism to succeed in fishing. So, the next chapter of this book is chapter 2, which is, So Bobo's mom, Nellie, used transfer of learning. We're going to talk about transfer of learning now, to help her son be the best polar bear he can be. Near transfer happens when she teaches lessons close to what Bobo is already familiar with, like hunting or playing. So she's able to teach lessons that are very relatable to things that he already knows, things that he's very familiar with, he's done 100 times, he's familiar with the basic content, but then she's adding upon to it and adding more things on top of that. While far transfer is where she tries to relate a lesson to a completely different concept, like maybe relating the weather of the seasons, how cold it's been getting, to what Bobo's learning in social studies about polar bear equality. And this is a much farther gap, but this is still a skill that's very necessary, as she eventually wants Bobo to be able to tie everything that she learns to every event in life, and to make those connections to life as a whole, and then really develop those critical thinking skills that are going to be beneficial to him moving forward in life. The mother constantly uses explicit teaching to have her son apply life lessons, like trying his best and not talking to strangers whenever he walks to school or fishing. So she's teaching these social skills, and then she's helping him to apply them in when he's off on his own and he's venturing out and doing things more independently. She also uses analogies and metaphors to help explain why like an example that she used was when polar bears die, she kind of related it to a melting glacier, that things eventually pass on, even though they've been there for hundreds of years. It's important that Nellie that Bobo begins generalizing the teachings to help make sense of the events in life around him, which we already talked about, and his ability to understand danger in his home, which can be and understanding this whole concept that the dangers that he sees at home can also be applied to the dangers when he's at fishing, or when he's going to school, or when he's out on his own. And he can use things that he's learned, like the sounds of predators, or the dangers of loose ice, or how tricky it is underwater, to really figure out how to survive and how to be the best polar bear that he could possibly be. And finally, we're going to go into Chapter 3. Chapter 3, Constructivism. We're going to talk about situated learning. Now, Nellie used situated learning to help further Bobo's education. She used cooperative education when she signed her son up for a Cub Scouts program at her school. The Cubs were tasked with hunting and fishing together for food. They would then bring this food back to the pack. So they basically caught food for the pack. It was like a workers program for them. They were able to come back with food and fish for the rest of the pack. But this could be dangerous as well, as there has been an influx of killer whales in the area. And these are the real world problems that many of the Cubs face. And they had to make adjustments, and they had to learn from experience to adjust to these growing hazards in their environment. And then this goes to show that also that not all skills are learned at the same time, and sometimes it's more situational when these things happen, and that you have to come up with these critical thinking and these problem solving skills as more and more dangers begin to arise and pop up. So sometimes these survival skills that they have to pick up, or these tools that they have to develop to survive, come in various dangerous situations, and then they have to use their athletic tools, their athleticism, their basically their kinesthetic tools, and also some critical thinking skills to deal with real life problems to survive and to stay alive. The benefit of being in a program like the Cub Scouts program means that the social process is the learning is developed through a social process of working together. Bobo himself wasn't in this alone, but he had a whole scout of cubs working together to solve these problems, and by working together they were able to fire off one another, figure out what worked best, what didn't work best, how they could best learn how to solve these problems on their own. They also had a scoutmaster who acted as the facilitator of learning for them. He was the person in charge. He was the one that sort of like oversaw everything, made sure he assessed their learning, how were they doing, were they picking up the right skills. He was able to give them feedback and also to get them to reflect upon what they've learned, how they can use this in further assignments, and also give them encouragements even if they're not doing as good, so they can actually become better and pick up even more skills that would help them to be more successful and actually to be ready to survive. Maybe they aren't ready to go fishing with killer whales yet, and then to give them those skills to be more ready for that. And then, of course, he's going to promote that critical thinking aspect again, where you're thinking and analyzing the facts and analyzing the experiences that you've learned and gained through this whole Cub Scouting experience to really come up with the best strategies to really bring back the best fish feast for the pack as a whole. And that's how situated learning played a role in Bobo's education and in him being able to fish and grow. So that's pretty much my story. I really liked constructivism. I think one of the great things about that is I think learning is always best when it's relatable and when it makes sense, and when you could take it and it sort of just fits into your schema of like how things are kind of supposed to be, and I think that helps to make it a little bit more palatable, and then eventually you become more invested and buy into it a lot more. But again, thank you so much for listening to my channel. Again, if you really love watching these learning channels, like and subscribe. I hope you really enjoy these videos, and I will catch you next time. Have a good one.